Okay, welcome back to Revamp. Got our 010 350 Chev here. Last episode you saw us get it running. If you're not up to date on the HQ project, we'll put a link up here to the playlist for it, so you can get up to date and know where we're at on the project. Also, if you want to know about our other projects, subscribe to the channel and we'll try to have regular updates on basically everything we're doing at the moment. Now, this small block 350 Chev, 010 block, double hump fuelie heads, suits the period of the HQ that we're doing. So what we want to do is we want to just make it look a little tidier. The rocker covers don't really suit the look we're going for. The intake manifold's a little bit dirty, the paint's a little bit ratty, that kind of thing. So we're going to get basically the outsides off, clean it up, paint it, we'll powder coat some parts, we're going to change out these rocker covers and basically make it look more presentable and more to period with the car. At the same time, we're going to be finding out what's inside this engine. Now, it sounded quite good when we had it running, but we don't actually know what's inside it. We know that it's supposed to have been built to around about Bathurst GDS specs. Now, I'm probably assuming that's around the HT Monaro era. But you know, it's definitely not just a stock 350 Chev. So let's get into it. Got some hand tools here. Probably one of the most important tools if you're not used to pulling these apart is some snap type bags that you can write on. And you can put the bolts in, write exactly what they are, you don't lose them. And if you're not familiar exactly where each bolt goes in one of these engines, very, very handy to have. So let's get into it. Get all this outside stuff off, have a look what's inside, and then we'll work on cleaning the engine up. So take the rocker covers off. Fantastic. We've got ourselves a set of roller rockers in here. They're more basic stainless steel style one, but they still have the roller trunnion and the roller tip on them as well. So that's excellent. Now, on a small block Chev, before you take the distributor out, or before you take the intake manifold out, sorry, you have to take the distributor off. It sits in the intake manifold at the back here. So if you're going to be putting this engine back together, it's just really the easy path to time it before you pull the distributor out. So maybe a black and a white pen, maybe just a white pen, depending on your engine. So we want to find number 1, furthest forward cylinder head. So with the furthest forward cylinder head, go to number 1, and got number 1 lead. On here, we're actually lucky that they are marked as well. So here we've got number 1 here. Just want to mark your distributor where number 1 sits, like that. Then pop all your leads off and your cap. Now, luckily on this engine, these 010s are an older engine, so it's quite common to see points on them. Although anyone who's been trying to get performance out of them will have changed to an electronic distributor like this one. This one's a little A-cell unit, but there's plenty of others out there. There's even the factory HEI with the large cap and the coil in the top. So what we want to do is we want to get this on top to set on number 1 firing, so we know where to put this in. If you know you're not going to turn the engine over, you can also just mark where this points. So I might mark it there, where that's pointing, and you just put it back in the exact same spot. That revolves around you not turning the engine over at all. So it's definitely safer to make sure that you time the engine before you pull the distributor out. So the first thing you want to do is get some carby cleaner or brake cleaner, little on a rag. Make sure your timing tab just here is cleaned up, and just try and clean around your balancer. See if you have any numbers on there or anything. I think this is a fairly standard balancer, so I'm not seeing any numbers on there. But I do have a marked timing tab here, so that's a good thing. And then we can look here. We basically want both of these to be closed 100% when the compression is coming up here. See the valves lifting now, so it's exhausting. We're intaking, and then we'll get compression after that. So you can just stick your finger in there and you hear that little shh, and you know that the engine's building compression. So you know when your mark comes up here, you'll be top dead, number 1 compression stroke. So let's get that mark up. We can mark 0, we can mark the front here. What we can also do is we can mark exactly where the rotor button in the distributor is. So we've got a mark just there. And now we know where to put the distributor back in for the correct timing for this engine. Now we can go ahead and take the distributor out and take the intake manifold off. There we go, beautiful. All right. There we have the manifold off. We'll degrease this, clean up the gaskets so that we can powder coat this and reuse it. It's looking good. Now what I'm going to try and do here is just give you a quick idea of the extensive port work that's been done in here. That's a nice little find. I'll definitely be checking the intake manifold to see if that has been match ported. You can see in the valley is quite clean, and you can see these roller rockers, both sides, and you've got the nice double valve springs in here with the dampeners on them as well. Looking good. Okay, my next target is going to be take these exhaust shorties off. So I'll get those off. Okay. Next we're going to just pop this fuel pump off. Now this is a Holly or a Holly style pump. You can see the gaskets on the bottom are fairly average. If you see a pump with damaged diaphragms and gaskets in it, really is worth doing something with it. Either getting rid of it and replacing it or getting the seals for it. One thing that it can do that a lot of people don't realise, it can fill your engine with fuel through here. Now this goes into the oiling system. Last thing you want to do, particularly with a flat tappet camshaft, is you really don't want the lubricating qualities of your oil to go bad. So looking after your fuel pump, and you know, in this situation, if we need to change it, we change it, all those kind of things. So it really is very important for the long life of an engine. As I showed you in the intake ports, we can see there's been quite extensive porting in the exhaust as well. There you go. So these heads really have had a lot of work done to them. Again, you can see those double valve springs with the dampeners in it. So at this stage, that's about what we're going to take off the engine. We haven't decided we'll take the sump off yet, but we'll be cleaning up all this flaky paint here, getting it back to a surface that we can put a decent coat of Chevy orange on, and yeah, really try to make this engine look really good. We've got all the external dress up stuff off the engine. Now what we actually noticed is when we were moving the engine around, we could hear just a little knock from side to side in the sump. Now the only thing I can think of that would do that is the oil pump pickup. Now we're very lucky on a small box Chev that the oil pump sits submerged in the oil, so that we still had no oil pressure issues. Obviously not ideal, but it will be okay. We know we had oil pressure, we had the gauge on it when it was running, picked up oil pressure really quickly, so we know it's not a huge issue. So what we're going to do, we're going to rip the sump off. I'm going to show you the best way to do that, because I quite often see people get a bit carried away turning engines upside down and that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you the best way to do that, and then we're actually going to powder coat this sump to match the rocker covers and everything, and then we'll get on to painting the engine. So I'm going to drain the oil out of it, and I'm going to pull the sump off, and we'll have a look what's actually wrong inside and what's knocking around. So the mistake I see most people make is they're pulling the sump off an engine, they go straight away, let's flip the engine upside down. Well, what you do when you do that is any build-up that there is in the bottom of the engine falls directly into all the internals in the engine. Now, I don't know if you're rebuilding an engine, that might be acceptable, but if you're pulling a sump off to reseal or to inspect the internals of an engine, you don't really want all the junk from inside your sump falling internally in your engine. So what you want to do is, if you want better access, you can just put it sort of half to its side like this, and get your one side bolts out, flip it the other side, get the other side, or you can do all the bolts from this side. That's how you just get that little bit of extra access from tilting it slightly on the engine stand. So I'm going to get all these bolts out, then we're going to pop this sump off, and we're going to see exactly what's going on. Don't forget to just leave one last bolt. Try and loosen it up. And take that last bolt out. And then any crud in the sump is left in the bottom. And as we can see, we've got the oil pump pickup sitting in the bottom. Now that would normally go in here like this, and it's not uncommon for them to come loose. Not ideal, but not uncommon. Now if you have this situation where the oil pump pickup has come off, it's probably a good idea, grab yourself a new pickup. But you want to make sure that the housing doesn't have a crack in it or something like that around where the oil pump pickup goes in. So it's a good idea to check there. I can see this one has been updated with a updated stud for the oil pump, which is fantastic. Also looks like it's got some upgraded rod bolts in it as well. Another great thing. And we're lucky enough to have scored ourselves a 4-bolt 010 block. Now they do actually come in a 2-bolt as well, but this one has the 4-bolt caps, and we've also got a lot of markings to witness that yes, this engine has been rebuilt. So this will be going into the HQ, and it's going to be quite the great addition to the vehicle. There's probably, when going period, there's probably no better engine to put in than a 4-bolt 010 block with the double hump fuelie heads. And to top it off, we've had some upgrades, and we've also had some rebuild work done. Okay, so with it upside down now, you can see we haven't covered all the inside of the engine with all the muck out of the sump. Not that there is a lot there, but you just don't need it really. And you may not necessarily be pulling the sump off an engine that's in perfect condition either. So you can see here's our 4-bolt main caps. Here you can see we've got an upgraded rod bolt of some sort. Upgraded oil pump stud. There's markings on all the caps to indicate that we have had a rebuild done. We can see down, it's quite clean internally. Might not be able to see it, but I can see down there that all the cam lobes are looking great. So like I said, this is going to be a great addition into the HQ, particularly for that period look. We might actually even pull the balancer off just to double check that. And the timing chain behind here, we may powder coat that as well. But yeah, she's looking like a great engine. All right, to paint this engine up, we've got to get rid of all this loose paint. You see it's actually coming off really easy. Now you don't want to get this all inside the engine, so just use some rags and stop it. If you just do it by hand, you can control where all the stuff goes, and it comes off really easily. So I'm going to get stuck into this. Alright, so you saw we cleaned down the engine with wire brush, carby cleaner, degreaser, just to get rid of all the loose paint and stuff on the engine block and heads. Now we actually have the ability to put this whole engine in the oven just to warm it up slightly because of the damp conditions that we've currently got with rain, etc. So we're going to put it in the oven, warm it up slightly, that way when we paint it we get a good adhesion with the paint to the engine block and heads. So we'll get it warmed up and then I'm going to give it a spray.
So this oven, compared to a normal household oven, is about the same example as Toby saying we've had moisture while it's been wet. It's been flooding.
How big's your oven, Jimmy?
11 metres by 3 by 3.
So yeah, she's not your average kitchen oven.
But she makes the biggest pizzas in the world.
So this oven here is used for powder coating and can go up to, I don't even know what degrees, but it was switched off yesterday and its residual heat from overnight is enough to just warm that engine up so that when we paint it we don't get any moisture issues. So we'll just leave that in there for a little bit and the residual heat will just dry everything out so we can get good adhesion with that paint. Alright, so we've got it cleaned down, we've warmed it up. I'm actually inside the front half of the oven here and we've got ourselves a high temperature engine enamel. I use engine enamel over 2 packs and things because it's more designed for the purpose. So this can's been in here as well, it's warmed up a little bit. Give it a good shake. I'm just going to take a bit of cardboard. Chevy orange, of course. Alright, that's a quick first coat and then I'll come back after this dries for a little bit and give it another coat and hopefully that should be enough. Right, so as you can see we've had it baking in the oven here. I know she's a bit of an extreme oven just to heat an engine up a little bit, but the orange has turned out perfectly. So we're going to get some accessories onto this engine now and we'll show you the colour scheme we've got going for it. Obviously Chevy orange, but we've got some other stuff to put on there as well. Okay, so there you go. There's a bit of a look into our 010 small block Chev that we've got for the HQ. Like I've said a couple of times in the video, it is going to make the perfect addition for this build being a period correct build. Now, I would love to finish the engine off for you in this video, apart from the video being very long, we haven't actually been able to get some of the specific fasteners for some of the parts that we're trying to use. Now, there is a bit of an ARP shortage around the world, which, you know, it's kind of out of our hands. Our friends at RCE Performance in Queensland, they're onto it. They're gonna have them very soon. Jimmy's actually in Queensland at the moment on a trip, and he's going to be picking them up and bringing them back, hopefully in a few days. So I will have that video out soon on getting this engine back together with its full dress up finished. So if you want to see that video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to catch up on anything else, check out the playlists that we've got. Other than that, let a friend know, leave a comment, give us a like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time on Revamp, where we finish this engine off.